Hi, thanks very much for joining me today. My name is Jason Cowley. I'm a pre-sales engineer here at Zerto. I cover the ANZ region here, and today what I want to do is just talk to you a little bit about Zerto Virtual Replication version 5. So version 5 is our brand new release. It's got some really great features in it, and we'll go through that right now. So the first feature that we want to go through is probably my favorite, the one I'm most excited about, is something called one-to-many replication or multi-site replication. So what multi-site or one-to-many replication is we're able to take a production single virtual machine and replicate it simultaneously to different sites, okay? And we maintain our RPO of seconds, okay? So we don't lose any performance or anything like that, and we're able to simultaneously replicate single VMs to multiple locations. So the type of targets that we'd be looking at are potentially a local target and a remote targets, or even multiple remote targets. Okay. So how does that work? Within Zerto Virtual Replication, we have a construct called a VPG. So a VPG is basically a consistency group, okay? So what we are able to do, and it's pretty simple, is we're able to now use a virtual machine and add it to multiple VPGs, okay? What this means is that we can now have different targets per VPG. So within a VPG, you can have one VM, you can have multiple virtual machines, or you can have a subset, and we can protect those all to multiple different locations. So currently we have a maximum of 3 VPGs per VM, but in the future we're looking to remove some of those constraints and provide a lot more capability surrounding that. So we maintain the consistency of the virtual machines across all of the VPGs that virtual machine's a part of, okay? You can configure multiple SLAs across each VPG. So if you have multiple tiers of applications, okay, and you have a single VM part of each application, each virtual protection group, we maintain consistency and you can configure different SLAs across those. There's absolutely no performance impact to replicating to multiple locations, okay? The only constraint that you might have is that you need to go through a little bit more sizing for the actual replication appliances that we have running in your production environment, okay? Because we are going to be pushing a little bit more I/O through that VRA, we do have to size for it a little bit more, okay? And really importantly, these copies of these VMs are full replicas of the VMs, and they have the full journaling capability. So what that means is we have the ability to do point-in-time recovery down to the second. We can do non-disruptive DR testing while you're currently replicating. We don't have to pause replication, okay? And we can do granular file level and folder level restores out of those VMs. So I'll go through some of the use cases that we have. I think really the thing that I'm most excited about is what you as customers are going to find for use cases for this different feature. So the first one that we see, and we get this quite often, is we have customers that are asking us to allow for not only a remote copy to a DR site, but also have a local copy that you can use either for really fast recovery or for granular file level or folder level recovery. So we can recover directly to production. So basically what this does is it helps protect against things like logical failures or hardware-based failures or individual VMs that might go down. So instead of having to protect an entire application and fail it over to a target site, we can do it locally, which means we don't have to initiate things like BCP processes and contacting networking ISPs to have configurations changed. We can just do it locally and recover a single VM. We can also use this to move from one platform to another. So let's say you had a SAN refresh and you want to move from a SAN to vSAN. We can actually help facilitate that while we still protect your production environment. The second use case that I want to go through is to be able to effectively utilize your potential cloud resources. So in a lot of environments, you might be constrained by storage on your production environment or your DR site, but you might want to be getting a little bit more longer term protection against certain tiers of your VMs. So what you could do is you could actually create a tier of VMs and have 24 hours sitting locally where you can do more recent backup or recent recovery, and then have your longer term sitting up in something like AWS where you can leverage the economy of scale of cloud. So instead of utilizing your expensive production disk, you can go ahead and use something like S3, which is a lot more cost effective. The favorite use case, I think, and one of the ones that really resonated with me is the ability to protect during migration, or to be able to actually test out different cloud platforms. So because we can not only replicate to your on-prem DR site, okay, we can also replicate up to another site. So we can actually run migration tasks, okay, without as much risk involved. Main reason we can do that is because we're currently protecting production workloads to a DR site while we're actually migrating them across. So you can go ahead and you can test your migration and feel, and rest at ease that if something does happen on the production side, that we can always fail over to the target. The other one is, let's say you're currently running a DR site, and it's a cold DR site. And let's say you're mandated to potentially look to the cloud to move your disaster recovery as a service, okay? Again, migration tasks have a lot of risks that go along with them. A lot of times you have to interrupt replication and SLAs in order to perform replications and migrations. So what you can do is, while we're replicating to the target, you can go ahead and replicate your workloads up to Azure or up to AWS and test and see how they're going to perform in the cloud. See if one gives you better performance than the other, maybe one's a little bit cheaper than the other. And once you've done that and you've actually decided, yes, you know what, we do want to go to Azure or we do want to go to AWS, you just delete the original VPG and you're already replicated and actually replicating up to the cloud. So you're protecting to the cloud. So the next feature that we want to talk about is automation. Okay, so currently with version 4.5, we have a REST API. So we have the capability of running scripts and things like that against our application. But with version 5, we're really increasing that functionality, okay? So with version 5, we're going to be able to do bulk deployments of VRAs, automate the deployment of VRAs. We can do bulk creation of virtual protection groups. We can do bulk IP reconfiguration of servers. And probably the most important one is the automation of protecting a new virtual machine. This is especially interesting for organizations like cloud service providers who may have service catalogs that they have in their environment that they want to be able to have a quick checkbox to initiate DR if someone's trying to do infrastructure as a service or something with them. So probably the second biggest feature that we have coming out in version 5 is our support for migration up to Microsoft Azure. So from an architectural standpoint, at the production side, we don't really change a whole lot. So currently we have our ZVM, which is our management console, and our VRAs that'll run on your ESX hosts or on your Hyper-V hosts, and they basically move your data around. When we go up into Azure, we're going to require a single D3v2 Azure Windows VM that we're going to install the ZCA on, which is the Zerto Cloud Appliance. Now the Zerto Cloud Appliance basically combines the functionality of the ZVM, which is the management console, and the VRA, which is the data mover, into a single appliance. Now, the way that we replicate from your production workloads through your VRA up into the ZCA, and we store them in two types of Azure blobs. So the first one, we store the actual content of the virtual machine into the page blob within Azure, and the journaling, which we use for point-in-time recovery and really fast and non-disruptive DR testing, we store in 16-bit block blobs. Now, the great thing about this is that because we have the ability in Azure to mount a virtual machine directly to blob storage, we are getting some incredible RTOs out of replication up to Microsoft Azure. So we've had some customers who have said they've been able to restore within 4 minutes of initiating a failover. The next thing we want to talk about is the Zerto mobile app, okay? So the Zerto mobile app, all right, is a SaaS solution that we're providing. So you're going to be able to access the application and your data from anywhere in the world. You don't require VPNs, you don't really require anything at all to access that. Currently what we're going to be using it for is as a monitoring tool, okay? This is to provide peace of mind. So if you're traveling around, if you're not near your data center or you're not at your office and you're unable to determine or to access the actual console, you're always going to have a window into how your DR environment's running and how your production environment's running, okay? Moving forward, we're looking on really increasing the functionality of this to where we can actually do things like initiating failovers, as well as performing some analytics on some of the information that we gather from there. Currently, we support iOS and Android as mobile operating systems. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is just really expanding on one of the really great and key features that Zerto has, and that's the expansion of our journal history from 14 days to 30 days. Okay? What this allows us to do is it allows you to protect against corruption in your file system, human error, somebody might delete a file, or even something like CryptoLocker. And you can go back as far as your RPO will let you. So if you're having RPOs of 5 seconds, you can go granular back in time every 5 seconds, okay, for 30 days to be able to restore from that. Okay? Well, thanks very much for that, guys. If you have any more questions, please feel free to go to our website, www.zerto.com. There's a lot of technical white papers and you'll have access to a lot more technical videos and things like that. If not, feel free to reach out to one of your account managers. We're happy to help you with anything you need.